The truck kept turning on its own, slow and steady, and the headlights swept the trees like a lazy spotlight that wouldn't shut off. Lauren's hands were locked on the wheel, but the wheel was just along for the ride. The grinding under us sounded like metal being dragged across metal, low and stubborn, and it came in pulses that matched the rotation. Lauren twisted the key again anyway, like her body couldn't accept that we were trapped by dirt. Click. She tried again. Click.
It won't even turn over now.
Emma was crying in the back seat with her rabbit jammed under her chin, and every time the headlights swung back toward the bend, she stiffened like she expected something to step into the beam.
Daddy, don't let it make you look.
That phrasing hit me hard, because it wasn't a kid guessing. It was a kid repeating. The truck rotated another few degrees, and the packed oval under the tires came into my peripheral vision. It looked darker than the road around it, smoother, worked. A turnaround that had been used so many times it had a shape of its own. The merry-go-round was still visible through the thin trees by the bend, turning in daylight like it had an appointment it refused to miss. The platform dipped at the same point every rotation. There was no wind. Nothing else on that playground moved. Lauren's voice went tight.
Evan, it's lining us up.
The headlights slid across the tree line again, and I understood what she meant. We weren't spinning randomly. We were being aimed, again and again, at the same patch where the woods thickened. I twisted around in my seat and reached under the rear bench the way I'd done 100 times for a dropped toy. My fingers hit cold metal, the factory jack handle and lug wrench tucked where they're supposed to be. I dragged the wrench up and held it like it mattered.
What are you doing?
I'm breaking the track. I pushed my door open and stepped out fast. The cold air bit my face, and the sound outside was sharper, like the truck and the circle weren't muffled by glass anymore. I stayed off the packed oval on instinct, boots on loose gravel and grass at the edge. I crouched and drove the lug wrench down into the cleanest part of the curve. It didn't sink like dirt. It resisted, then gave with a stiff scrape that sounded wrong, like something hard just under the surface didn't want to be scored. The truck's turning hitched.
Again, keep doing it.
I dragged the wrench toward me and carved a trench across the curve. Gravel popped and skittered. The packed dirt trembled under my boots like a platform under load, and the grinding under the truck turned ugly, like the circle was trying to keep a smooth rotation and couldn't. I dug in again, made a second cut that crossed the first. Not neat, just violent. The truck jerked, suspension groaning, and the headlights jumped in their sweep, like the whole frame had snagged. Something hit back from below. One heavy thump that traveled up the wrench into my wrists and made my teeth click together. It felt like the ground had punched. I stumbled backward, boots on loose gravel again, and the vibration dulled immediately. The rule was instant and physical. Clean shape had grip. Broken edge had less. I looked up without meaning to. The tall shape at the tree line was closer than it had any right to be. It hadn't crossed the open space like an animal. It was just closer, like the distance between frames had been cut. It didn't rush me. It didn't need to. It stretched that long arm down toward the packed oval, and the truck's rotation steadied for half a second, like the circle was getting help. I didn't wait for it to close whatever gap it had left. I lunged back into the cab through my open door and reached for the headlight switch. I killed the headlights. The sweep stopped, and the world outside the porch light turned into a dark wall again. The truck still pivoted, but it hesitated, like the circle lost interest when it stopped being a moving beam. Lauren's eyes snapped to me.
Emma, unbuckle! Now!
Emma fumbled with the latch. I crawled halfway into the back seat and yanked the belt free with shaking hands, then lifted her out through the rear door on the side away from the packed oval.
Don't step in it.
I didn't. I kept to the grass, holding her tight. And Lauren came around the front with her keys clenched in her fist like she was about to stab the air. The grinding surged once, frustrated. then fell off into a harsh scrape that stopped and started as the truck snagged on my trenches. I didn't look for the shape again. I didn't give it the gift of my attention. I carried Emma up the steps, and Lauren was right behind me. We got inside and locked everything we could lock. The grinding didn't follow. That silence felt like it had been chosen. We kept the lights on, all of them, bright enough that the cabin felt like a showroom. Emma sat on the couch with her rabbit and watched the front window like she was waiting for someone to lean into it.
Tell me what that was.
I kept my voice low and plain. It was at the tree line. It touched the circle. The truck moved smoother when it did.
Like it was pushing.
Yeah. Lauren pressed her fingers against her forehead and stood there breathing slow, like she was trying to keep her body from doing anything reckless. She didn't ask if we were leaving. We couldn't. Our closest neighbor was far enough away that yelling wouldn't help. The road was still blocked by our dead truck sitting half in the turnaround. Emma's voice came small.
She likes when it turns because it makes the light pick.
Lauren turned toward Emma. Careful.
Pick what, sweetie?
The right tree. The right place to stand.
I felt my throat tighten. I didn't ask for more. I didn't want Emma building the picture out loud. Lauren went down the hall and pulled a chair into Emma's room so she could sit by the bed. She didn't say she was doing it. She just did. I stayed in the living room, watching the front through a crack in the curtain. The truck sat dark now, no headlights, just a shape in the yard. The turnaround looked ruined where I'd cut it, like a scar across a circle that used to be smooth. At 2:11 a.m., the sound started down the road again. Faint grinding from the playground, steady as a motor. I didn't move. I just listened and watched my own driveway, waiting for the circle under the truck to wake up again. It didn't. The grinding down the road ran for minutes, then stopped clean. Not fading, not slowing, just done, like a switch flipped. A few seconds later, my porch motion light clicked on. Nothing was there. No animal, no person. Just the light washing the yard like it was checking its own work. The motion light clicked off again. I didn't sleep at all after that. Morning made the damage obvious. The turnaround trenches were deeper than I'd realized. The loose gravel dragged into curved smears, like something had tried to pull it back into a smooth track during the night. The packed dirt along the cleanest part of the old curve was marked with a wet-looking black residue. Not everywhere, just where turning would be easiest. The underside of the truck had a fresh streak near the center, the same black smear, like something had slid under it and pressed along the frame. Lauren stood on the porch with Emma and didn't let her step off the boards.
We're getting that merry-go-round removed today.
I made the calls with my flattest voice. I didn't say monster. I didn't say long arm. I said equipment moving at night, structural hazard, visible deformation, damage to my vehicle, and I had video. I sent the trail cam clip and I sent a photo of the gouges. I used words like liability, because officials wake up when you say liability. Lauren didn't wait for them to care. She pulled every round thing we owned off the floor like she was clearing glass after a break. The round doormat got rolled and shoved into the mudroom corner. The kiddie pool got dragged into the shed and tipped on its side. A metal fire ring I'd kept near the pit got flipped and carried behind the woodpile where it couldn't sit flat. I didn't say any of it was logical. I just helped. Emma watched us move things without asking why. That bothered me more than questions would have. The county showed up late afternoon. A truck, a flatbed, and a small backhoe. No sirens. No urgency. 2 workers walked the clearing, checked bolts, pushed the merry-go-round like it was an everyday nuisance. When they stepped onto it, the platform dipped deeper than it should have, and one of them crouched under the lip and touched the housing. He pulled his hand back with black smear on his fingertips and wiped it on his jeans too fast. They didn't talk much after that. They looped a chain, lifted, and the platform twisted against the chain like something inside it leaned into the turn. The backhoe arm squealed under load. The operator corrected, then corrected again, like the machine was being argued with. They got it onto the flatbed and strapped it down. As it rolled away, the clearing looked wrong. An empty patch of dirt and frost where something had been. Under where the platform had sat, the grass was crushed into a dark circular track, and the soil in the center had a shallow depression with a clean edge, like something heavy had stood there long enough to press itself into the earth. The workers filled it, leveled it, and left like they didn't want to look back.
That better be the end of it.
I wanted to agree. I didn't. The first night after they hauled it off, 2 a.m. came and the road stayed quiet. No distant grinding. No metal squeal in the woods. The silence should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like something waiting to see what we'd do next. The second night, the porch motion light kicked on again. I was already awake, sitting on the couch with my phone in my hand like I was waiting for a text from hell. The yard looked empty. Then the gravel in the turnaround shifted in a slow curved smear along the old outline, as if something underneath was tracing the circle from memory. It wasn't making a full rotation. It was testing, moving a few inches, stopping, then moving again, like it was trying to feel the shape through my trenches. The motion light flickered. At the edge of the light, a long, thin limb lowered into view, so narrow it looked like a shadow at first until the gravel compressed under it. It pressed down with careful precision. Not a stomp, not a step. More like a finger pressing on wet clay. It dragged a shallow arc. Slow, patient, tracing where the curve used to be smooth.
Don't go out there.
I didn't. I watched it work. The limb reached one of the boards I'd thrown across the curve and pressed against it. The board flexed. The limb paused like it was thinking, then shifted a few inches and tried again, looking for the easiest way to restore the turn. When it couldn't, it lifted and withdrew back into the darkness with no rush. The motion light stayed on for a few more seconds, then clicked off. Lauren stood beside me without me noticing her walk in. She'd been sitting in Emma's doorway again.
It's still there.
Yeah. Emma's door creaked. She padded in with her rabbit and climbed onto the couch between us like she belonged there.
You made it bumpy. She can't use it.
Lauren's voice stayed soft, but her hand gripped Emma's shoulder.
Emma, listen to me. If you see her, you come to us. You don't go near the trees. You don't go near the driveway. You don't go near anything round outside. Do you understand?
I don't see her. I hear her like she's behind the trees, like she's talking with her arm.
Lauren's face tightened. I could tell she wanted to ask more, then chose not to. That was the shift. We stopped chasing an explanation. We stopped hoping it would stop on its own. We started treating the circle like a tool it needed, and we made the tool useless. Over the next week, the tests got smaller, but more frequent. Curved smears in frost near the porch steps. The round lid of my fire pit flipped and centered in the yard like someone had placed it. A shallow arc pressed into the dirt by the shed, like something had started a new circle and quit when the ground didn't cooperate. Every time, we broke it. I widened the trenches in the turnaround and filled them with fist-sized rock, so no tire could ever glide through cleanly again. I drove stakes into the old curve and left them crooked, not lined up like a fence, just ugly obstacles. I parked the truck in a way that forced any delivery to back straight out instead of turning, and I set 2 motion lights so the yard lit up without sweeping in a slow arc. I also changed one thing I hated changing. I stopped standing at the window when the motion light clicked on. The first night I did that, I felt ridiculous, like I was refusing to look at a raccoon, Then I remembered what Emma said about it making us look, and the ridiculous feeling went away. I'd hear the click, hear the faint scrape outside, and I'd sit down on the couch instead, with my back to the window, facing the hallway to Emma's room. Lauren would do the same, shoulder to shoulder with me, silent. The scrape would stop, not because it left, because it wasn't getting the thing it wanted. The closest it came after that was the night the motion light flickered twice in quick succession, like something had stepped in and out of its range. I didn't look. Lauren didn't look. We stayed on the couch and listened to Emma's steady breathing down the hall. In the morning, one of the stakes by the turnaround was bent slightly and reset, as if something had pressed it and let it spring back. The black smear was there again in a thin line along the old curve, like it was still trying to mark the path it wanted. I poured more rock into the trenches and stomped it down until my legs shook. That's the conclusion we got. The playground lost its merry-go-round. The clearing got filled in and fenced off, and the county called it maintenance. The thing didn't vanish. It just stopped having an easy way to use us. We're still in this cabin. Emma still sleeps in her room. Lauren still checks the locks twice. The driveway looks like a mess now, like somebody tried to fix it and gave up halfway, and that's the point. Every clean circle we break buys us another quiet night, and I don't know how many quiet nights we get before it finds a new way in. If you made it through part 2, comment round off so I know you actually stuck around. Hit like if you know you liked it, subscribe so you catch the next story, and tell me what you do first. Would you kill the lights? Wreck the turnaround? Or make a run for the house? See you in the next one.